Hey guys, welcome back to the What Comes to Mind series. Today is episode 7, talking about the heart. You thought I stopped, didn't you? But I didn't, and the weather is amazing. Let's get cracking. So when I think about the heart, I think about the engine for the body. And I constantly think about what other engine in the world pumps for, on average, 70 to 80 years, constantly, never stops, and gets fed all types of things within reason. And it's pumping nearly every second for 70 and 80 years. Just before I go into the video, just think about that to start off with. A pump that is constantly pumping 24/7, 365 days a year, constantly for, on average, 70 to 80 years. I find that incredible. So if you haven't watched the other episodes, I talk about nutrition, exercise and psychology and how they are factors for a lot of diseases. And throughout this week, in terms of episodes, we were talking about a different body system or a different organ to solve. And today is obviously about the heart. And naturally, when I think about the heart now, I think about the biggest killer in the world, cardiovascular disease, which is quite upsetting for me personally. Now, the reason why it is so upsetting is not always, but quite a lot of the time, where cardiovascular disease originates from or progresses is from an environmental standpoint. So we know about poor lifestyle choices over time, similar with type 2 diabetes. Now, I have seen as well within the athletic world, people who are one of the fittest of the fittest still having complications. But looking at the majority view, with some recent articles I'll put in the description box, it is quite tragic to think of, again, something that could have been prevented. Hence, prevent the preventable. You also saw me in the previous episode talking about inflammation and how kind of damage to the endothelial cells, which make up the blood vessels, can cause a lot of complications with cardiovascular disease. And to think little things that we do in life can make or break us. I talked about psychology in the previous episode and how that can affect the most important organ in our body, our heart. And I sometimes scratch my head, I did that by accident by the way, that how pivotal what we do externally affects what happens internally and vice versa. So in terms of the heart, there's many things we can do that negatively affects it, as I've discussed. But I want to focus this video on a reminder for me and for hopefully those who are watching, what we can do to boost our cardiovascular function. And many people who I've talked to over the years who start exercise and stop, go to the gym or stop, want to eat right or stop, it's because they may sometimes not have somebody to do it with. You told me earlier on Instagram with other feeds, I'm playing tennis with a tennis ball on a string. Now, as much as I enjoy tennis, you would rather play with somebody, of course. So when I think about the heart as well, it's not just about the medical standpoint or research standpoint. It's also about care and love and support. If you think of heart in that sense as well, being kind, being generous. And all of that factors in, because if you genuinely want to improve your cardiovascular function, finding somebody to do it with makes a huge difference. It really, really does. And think about yourself, if you're younger or if you're middle-aged, a few years of changing your life will add on a few years to your life, and that's something I want you to focus on, that a few years of change in your life can add a serious amount of years to the end of your life. We only have one engine. We have MOTs for cars, we have services for cars, we can replace the engine. Very, very difficult to replace your heart. Now, why I said the heart is quite personal to me was my PhD was related to a heart in some capacity. I want to do a little documentary, hopefully in a few weeks' time. But to give a little bit of a snippet, my PhD was looking at how you can stop abnormal blood vessel formation, in simple terms. And for cancer, that's a huge problem. For cancer to become a problem, it requires its own blood supply, and it can trigger a new blood vessel to form from an original blood vessel. Just like you see these trees over here, or the trees behind me, which I'll get a snapshot in a minute, which you're gonna see actually now. When these branches form, they're forming from an original you could say big branch. And that's actually how blood vessels form, or new blood vessels form, sorry. And when that happens, one of them can be kind of meandered towards the tumor, by the tumor, and now the tumor has its own blood supply. This is also related to cardiovascular disease as well, where certain blood vessels can actually be blocked due to all sorts of reasons which you already may know of, due to atherosclerosis, embolism, thrombosis. And I realized that within my PhD, I spent years and years doing stuff, and I may have made a small dent, as with much research. And there are billions and billions and billions of pounds and dollars in the cardiovascular area, trying to either lower blood pressure, trying to open up blood vessels, trying to form new ones, trying to prevent heart failures. And all of that, yes, it's needed, 100%. Me as a researcher, you need this research. But shouldn't we also do something about it ourselves? Don't you think that's also quite useful? And I think me here playing tennis for an hour will contribute to that. And I genuinely hope and pray that whatever little I can do with this foundation that I've set up to genuinely, try and make fun videos, educate, change the awareness, and hopefully inspire populations that I'm around. Those people who are watching, if you end up going out for 10 minutes, I see that as a win for me. I've helped you potentially to do that, and that's what I want to do with this series, with these videos, and even today. Look after your heart. At the end of the day, nobody else is going to look after it for you. And that's physically, mentally, spiritually. Take care. Come outside. So, exercise. Try to do it with somebody. Diet, nutrition. Do it with somebody if you can. And psychology, I am the biggest believer. You need good company. All of those are interlinked. All of those are interlinked. And today's episode is a reminder of that. Your nutrition, your exercise, and your psychology. Look after your heart, people, because nobody else is going to look after it for you. See you soon. So as you can see, I just obliterated that tennis ball and I'm knackered. It was just a tennis ball on the string with a racket and a bit of concrete. And you can see how sweaty I am. So that's what I mean by looking after your heart. Simple things like this, having good nutrition where you can, and psychology, being around good company. That's why I stressed it at the start of this series, and why I'll keep stressing it throughout this series as much as I can. So get out, enjoy the sun as much as you can, and look after your heart. See you soon.